and we are about to be joined on stage by Giuseppe TARGIA. Giuseppe, actually, we're about to talk with you about the potential serve as a gateway for hackers, and you're definitely a specialist when it comes to cybersecurity again. But there is also a question about data and about what we can do with data. Of course, it's all about trust. So now, what about if we do mix data, cybersecurity, and trust? What's the definition of it?
Let me go through a very short presentation.
Sure.
So I will try to answer.
You need this one?
Yeah, I need this one.
Don't trust it.
Yeah, OK. So again, my name is Giuseppe TARGIA. I'm heading the security and IoT unit in Nokia. And the focus of this very short presentation and a few words I will spend together is about vulnerabilities in the next generation network. But let's start with the network today. So the mobile network today is very different from the one what used to be just a few years ago. It's moving from a legacy network to an IP network. It's becoming more and more like internet. And interesting, the connected device to the network are computer, are not anymore mobile phone. And the content is becoming more and more relevant for the user, for the mobile user, but it's becoming more and more interesting for the hackers. And actually what we have seen, we have a trade intelligence lab. We have seen that the number of malware applications are actually increased by 75% first half of this year, jumping from 5 million to 9 million. And the number of infected devices are actually double this year compared to last year. And if from one side, the number of infections increasing, on the other side, the awareness of the user is increasing as well. According to our acquisition and retention study, a survey we do every year, 91% of the mobile users are aware that or worried about one potential security risk in the mobile network. But only 43% actually protect their network, their device, in a way, with an antivirus and other mechanism provided by the service provider. That means that they rely on the service provider to protect their device. And this is the situation today. Now, if this situation is not easy already for an operator, since from one side they have an increasing number of malware, an increased awareness of the user, but user not willing to protect themselves, things will become more complicated with 5G. And mainly because of the diversity of the use case that 5G has against 4G. We will have a mobile user generating 10,000 more traffic in the next few years that they are generating today. And with peak of 10 gigabit per user, that will force the mobile operator to move the intelligence and the security of the network to the edge. There will be applications requiring high performance and at the same time low latency, making security transparent, difficult to be transparent. Think about an application that requires 2 levels of encryption as an example, but less than 1 millisecond of latency. Some device will run critical function, like healthcare device. So for them, protection will not be optional, like for many IoT devices today, the webcam there. And last but not least, we have seen already, there will be tens of billions of devices. And this device, in many cases, have low battery capacity and limited CPU capacity, so they will not be able to run an antivirus. So they will be vulnerable. And these billions of devices connected to the network that are vulnerable are actually a threat for the user, for the network as well. And no one is going to patch the security vulnerability of this toaster until it properly toasts the bread. And this vulnerable device can be easily hijacked, becoming, as I said, a danger for the user that owns the device, the other user that connect to the network, and the network itself.
It's like
normally a device
like being the Magritte of cybersecurity. It's not a toaster. It's a way where hackers can, get into your network and hack you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we always think that we have to protect the user. That's correct, but we have to protect the network. Some of the denial of service attacks actually are against the network itself. When a device, normally a device generates 2 kinds of traffic. Data traffic and signaling traffic. The data traffic is, for example, in a smart meter, the information smart meter needs to transport. The signaling traffic is the information that smart meter need to give to the network to say, I'm alive. So it's usually a signal that is sent when switch on or switch off, or to notify the network that's alive. And normally, it's a signal that is sent very, very rarely. And the network are dimensioned to deal with a limited amount of signaling. So what happens if a malware take control of smart meter, starts switching off the device every second? It will generate what is called a signaling storm, creating a signaling storm attack. And this will actually create a very big problem for the network, our dimension today. And if we think that this is actually just theoretical of the future, in just half an hour, we have already mentioned 2 times that the largest DDoS attack that actually happened 1 month ago, in September 2016, and was against a French web hosting provider, OHV, was generated by a botnet of 150,000 IoT device controlled by malware. And 1 month after, actually was released on the network a weapon called Mirai botnet that actually doing the same. It's controlling device to attack the network, and they launched an attack against the internet, and they brought down actually a large portion of internet in the United States, just leveraging a vulnerable device in the network. And like every infection, every normal infection we have, is very difficult to overcome. So the Mirai botnet is still present in the network. The way it works is so-called spread and attack. So before launching an attack, it's actually spread into the network. So each and every infected device look for other device close by to infect. And today there are already, or still, more than 1 million infected devices in the network that are ready to launch a new attack. And there is not much we can do against this today. And obviously, I mean, if 150,000 devices were able to generate more than 1 terabit of traffic, what will happen tomorrow when there will be billions of vulnerable devices? Can you imagine an attack launched by millions or even billions of devices against a web server? There is no way to protect it today. Now, does it mean that IoT or 5G will not take off? No. It only means that security as we see today, and it was interesting, the chart we've seen before, it's really changing and need to be changed very soon because it's coming, so the new reality is coming out. And in the case of IoT, for example, security need to be end-to-end, need to start from the device that we need to protect, the network that connects the device, and the backend, means the application, the platform that controls the device. And considering that we'll have billions of vulnerable devices, to be able to prevent all the problem is absolutely unrealistic. So it will be like thinking to build an airplane, assuming that none of the components of the airplane will never break. That's actually not realistic. So even if prevention will remain a very, very important element of the security strategy, detection and mitigation will go hand in hand with prevention and will become more and more important. I mean, continuing with the analogy of the airplane, at the end, a problem is not critical if we are able to mitigate the impact of the problem so that we do not compromise the overall integrity of the system. And in this new world, where there will be billions of connected devices, high bandwidth, and so it will be difficult to protect the network. The network needs to play a very, very important role. You will play a role to protect the user, to protect the enterprise connected to the network, and to protect the network itself. And the security needs to be embedded and integrated in the network. The network is changing. It's becoming more and more a distributed cloud. The new generation network, the 5G network, will not be a legacy network with access and core. It will be just a huge data center with some antenna. And security needs to be embedded and moved to the edge so that in case of a security breach, you can immediately detect and mitigate the impact of the security breach. And security for network need to be properly designed for the network. There are specific attack scenarios, like the signaling storm we have seen before, that are not typical enterprise kind of protection. So the security for network need to be designed for the network, cannot be just an enterprise security. And cannot be just the traditional perimeter protection because the infection will be inside the network, like outside. And last but not least, the intelligence, so the network needs to have the intelligence to correlate all the vulnerability, because there will be thousands and thousands of vulnerabilities inside the network, so they need to have the intelligence to correlate the information and understand which of these vulnerability will be critical. Now, to conclude, how need to be the future network to be able to cope with the challenge of an increasing and more complex threat scenario? And we have seen moving to distributed and artificial intelligence, and I absolutely agree that will be the future. So first of all, when we build the network, we have to build the network thinking about the future. So need to be future-proof to meet the rising security and privacy demand. Need to be integrated, so need to be embedded in all the layers of the network, cannot be just added on. Need to be intelligent, need to be able to take all the data created by the network and through efficient correlation, specific engine like machine learning or sophisticated analytics, understand which are the vulnerability and which of them are really critical. And to conclude, security needs to be built into the 5G network right from the start. And that's the reason why a company like Nokia is very interested in security and is investing money and effort in all the standardization forum to make security part of the 5G architecture.
Thank you so much, Giuseppe. Actually, you can give some applause to Giuseppe. I don't know if, every single network are security and future-proof, but you can join those two gentlemen actually and grab a seat so we can have some questions for you gentlemen. And just right now, happening on Twitter, actually, you are pretty amazed by what Yassir told us. Trust is to accept to be vulnerable. I mean, a lot of people on Twitter are just retweeting about this very sentence. And of course, that security is definitely not an option anymore, even when it comes to e-health, personal data, and especially at an era of IoT and 5G. So gentlemen, a few questions together.
Yes, if I should have asked you one question, which is very basic. I'll be back to Giuseppe. You know better than me that hackers are always successful. So can you tell us why? A very short sentence and 2 recommendations you will apply to all companies. I give you.
Okay, a really tricky question. I don't know if the hackers are always successful. I don't know about that because they still are human. If I have to give 2 advices, well, if I may. My last slide was from, as you guessed it, from the movie Matrix, and what it is what about Morpheus said at some point to Neo. He said, well, you have 2 options. Either you take the blue pill, the story ends, you wake up on your bed and you believe whatever you want, or you take the red pill and you stay in Wonderland, and I can show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. So it's kind of like this is the C-levels need to operate a mind shift really quickly, actually. And they need to see cybersecurity as a competitive advantage rather than a cost center. Nowadays, if you have a website with an invalid SSL, for now, it's not blocked, but the browser gives a signal to the user saying there is something not good with this website. In the coming months and the coming years, we can expect that the search engine will definitely block your website. And you cannot mess with that. This is the first point. So I guess the C-levels need really to operate this mind shift because things are moving really fast. The second thought is there are a lot of tools, ways, and approach that can help companies integrate cybersecurity in their organization. I'm thinking about tools as Jenkins, GitHub, Jira, Traffic, a lot of things that came with this, what we call DevOps, and we talk on our side about DevOpsSec, meaning how you can integrate an automated environment when you can have automated scanners when developers are working, And the very idea is to bring the cybersecurity from upstream to frontstream, actually.
Oh, sorry, it's not rocket science, there are solutions.
Yes.
Okay, thanks a lot. Giuseppe, one very basic question. You said, of course, and I do share this point of view, that network should be more secure and that it's going to be a complex world. Where do you see the value on that? Who is going to pay for that? And do you see an opportunity for equipment provider, for network services provider? And does the company willing to pay for that?
Yeah, at the end, I think the people will pay. I mean, the IoT will not take off. I mean, the automotive industry will not be able to build a self-driving car if we will have some initial incident, and the trust in the self-driving car will be lost. And the threat is there. I mean, people will have to pay. And according to our acquisition retention study, again, it's a survey we do every year, so we get first-hand data. Already the users are available to pay like a 5% premium to get protected in a mobile network. So eventually they will pay. The problem is we cannot wait till the problem raise up. So company like Nokia or other company need to start building security into the infrastructure before the incident will make the people aware of the problem.
Last question, gentlemen, before we do move on.
Is there a Twitter question? No?
No, actually, I mean, oh, actually, yeah, well, there is not like questions, but it's more reactions. And again, thoughts that are remarkable to this audience. Again, the fact that trust, of course, is to accept to be vulnerable, but also that security needs to be smart. What do you mean, gentlemen, by that? Because everything needs to be smart in this digital economy era. But
and Yassir, probably one smart approach could be the bug bounty, something that is on the mind of most of the CIO, CEO. So what is it about and how do you see this market rising?
Well, as I showed in the diagram, for me the future is to embrace the networks, whether it is machines or human beings. And that's why, for instance, we started a bug bounty platform, because we believe we need to work with hackers, and hackers have the skills, the mindset to find a potential exploitation, scenarios that can harm you. So this is a very, agile and smart way to work with a very large community of very skilled guys. And then, of course, the very idea of the bug bounty is to pay per vulnerability. So you have a very clear ROI, actually. So.
Like the way it's been that most of the company have to recognize that they don't have the internal skills to do this. Definitely, that's your recommendation. Okay.
And just last questions before you go. Actually, Dean was hacker's dream came true a few weeks ago, because for the very first time, it was proved that actually hackers could go through an IoT system to hack the entire internet, especially in the US. So what the next frontier when it comes to hacking?
Well, which is the next frontier? I mean, the problem is that the way Mirai has attacked the device is a very simple one. So they've not even really leveraged any vulnerability of the device. They actually were looking for a device with an easy password to guess. I mean, with a public IP address and an open telnet of SSH port. So it's something that everybody could do. I mean, just they made it automatically, and they create a mechanism to spread the infection and not only attack the device. So definitely, what does it mean that, for example, the IoT device, when we said security, for example, need to be smart, what does it mean to be smart? Smart means need to be transparent. We need to avoid that an IoT device, for example, in this case, has a very easy password. You need to force the user to build or to use a complicated password, or even not to not allow anybody to install an application on the device. So the new frontier is to understand the threat and to create a smart security that's become transparent for the user, but effective in the way you protect the system.
Yes, yeah.
If I may add something. Actually, on my side, I'm not really comfortable when we use hacker instead of cyber criminal. I draw a very clear line on my side between a hacker and a cyber criminal. A hacker is, in essence, someone that came up with creative ways to find solutions. That's it, that's all, actually. Someone that uses technology to harm a company is called a cyber criminal, actually. So I guess this is really important in the coming years to draw a very clear frontier between these two profiles. And I guess the media actually are not helping that much, because...
My bad.
No problem at all. Not take it personally, actually. It was just a reflection. No, that's it.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Again, thank you, Philippe, Yassir, and Giuseppe. I think they deserve some applause. And of course, I would never talk twice the same way about hackers now. Thank you again.